Minecraft time. Come on, my new friends. We're going to very distant land. Shake the fog with COVID and human. The fun will never end because it's Minecraft time. We are working on our mega base. So I found this nice hill here. I won't go into a ton of depth about the design for it, but here is this nice hill that I found. It's got a bunch of cool biomes around, lots of cool interesting features, and I took off just a tiny bit of this hill. It came to much more of a point, kind of that shape, and I knocked it down flat so that I could have a bit of a platform for this first hexagon structure. This is going to be essentially the live-in part of the base, where I have now made myself a plateau to work on, and this hexagon is what I started with. But I also kind of have this idea in my head to have this secondary portion coming off of it, which is this blue line here. It looks slightly phallic right now, I will admit, but I'm thinking this would have like a really nice domed kind of effect to it, and it would be a really good size for a massive storage system. So far I like that. But the next part is something that I suck at, which is terraforming. So I want this all to look natural. I've already had to do a little bit of terraforming over here around the edges because my hexagon shape doesn't quite fit. So I've made a flat dirt platform that supports my entire build. But now that I have the platform, I don't want to just leave it floating. I could do the same over here, but I don't want it to be floating. There will be a ton of really cool floating elements to this build, but as is right now, I'm just going to do some terraforming. And the nice part about this particular hill is, although it's pretty sheer cliff faces around the edge, this side, where I want this to be coming off, slopes off quite nicely. It's a lot less aggressive of a slope. And that means that I can just kind of match it up to the rest of this hill. I don't have to have this weird gradual slope when everything else around it is rather sharp like that. So saves me a ton of effort. I can essentially make this a lot sharper geometry than I typically would if I was building up a hill. And yeah, so I guess this is basically the starting point right here. Hey, up here. Yeah, that's me. Sorry for the split screen. This is the only way I can think to make this happen without having to go out and buy a second PS4. So, as you can see down at the bottom of your screen there, I have a camera account. Yes, a camera account. We'll go with that. In actuality, it is a second, it's a second controller. I'm just playing split screen, but I've got it set up onto a pillar over there, over that way. And that's just going to provide a third-person perspective on this. I'm going to do some building, and well, not really building, this is just terraforming, but I'm going to do some terraforming, and this way you guys can hopefully at least see the progress as it goes. I'll speed it up in editing as well. So I'm not really sure what people would normally do during a time lapse. I know on Hermitcraft, each hermit kind of has their own music they put on or whatever, but I think I'm just going to go with some talking for this one. So as you can see right now, I'm sort of just dividing up where I'm building. It helps me to have sort of an end goal. I'm only really going to do one section that I've divided off here. I'm not going to do it all, but I find it helpful to break things into slightly smaller chunks just so that it's a little less intimidating while I'm working. I'm not looking at the entire structure, just the section that I've decided to do. So stocking up on materials, I realized here that I actually want to experiment a little bit with stone. I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video, but Now we're using stone. I had to mine it all using my Silk Touch pickaxe. Because I have a beacon with haste 2 set up in the area, I'm just basically mining out below my mountain, which isn't exactly ideal because I'm creating a void that I then have to go back and light up at some point. Also, whenever I place down water buckets and it travels down the side of this thing while I'm working, so satisfying. I wish water moved that fast in Minecraft instead of the like 1 block per 4 ticks or whatever it does. It's painful sometimes, but sorry, I got distracted looking at me work. It's interesting doing it this way actually. I kind of like just doing a time lapse rather than having to fill the original like 30-40 minutes of video in this with my voice and talking and trying to explain what I'm doing. I can just kind of go back and post like this and just do a little commentary. So now you see I'm just breaking down the dirt outline that I had, replacing it with stone, being careful to kind of keep the shape, even though the shape was just put down. It's not like I needed to keep it. I got it to a point I was pretty happy with it, so keeping it. And just building upwards from here. I tend to work like 3 blocks high at a time, just because that seems to be the maximum amount of reach that my character has to still place blocks on their feet. So, it's really, I really wish I didn't have to do the split screen, because that top screen, I don't know if you guys have ever watched task speedruns of Minecraft or any game, but just the view flicking around in this super fast building, it reminds me of the task speedruns. It's kind of neat to see. But we're getting to the end of this time lapse, and my non-editor voice should cut in the next 30 seconds or so. But as you can see, there's a section we didn't touch. And I will let future past me explain. So here you go. Well, this is unfortunate. I just went to go record a little thing and realized I just missed out on recording a lot of the process. Forgive me, I'm sorry. I'm new to doing time lapses. This is my first try. I'm sorry. But what I'll do is I'll go to the perch that I made for my camera account and show you what it looks like at the end. I'm standing right here. So you just missed me filling in this sort of portion here. But anyway, so as you could see and probably notice, about halfway through I realized, hey, I think it would actually look a lot better if this was stone. So the rest of my little mountain here is all dirt, which is why I was just kind of going with a big dirt pile. But there's quite a bit of exposed stone, and I think that it looks a lot better using stone rather than just dirt. So there's some things that I would like to do differently that I'm going to do differently, but um, for right now, so some things I want to do differently. Right now there's just kind of a hard cutoff where the stone transitions into dirt. I don't like that. I'm going to make this less uniform, less perfect, so it looks more natural, because nature is very rarely uniform. But then again, nature is also very uniform, like with the Fibonacci spiral. Anyway, so gonna rough it up a little bit, make it look a little different. I'm gonna experiment with some darker color stone, maybe some deep slate down at the bottom layer. Not quite sure yet, but it would sort of have that gradient scale and introduce the idea of shadows, which could look really cool in this build, sort of making it seem taller than it is. Like eventually the build's going to be way up there. This is like floor 0 of the build, and it's going to get pretty tall, pretty massive. So for right now, I'm going to take a break and stop the time lapse. I still have about half to do, but we have done solid work on it, and I'm pretty happy with where we are. I'm gonna again transfer some of this to just stone. I'm going to mess around with some dirt, some darker block palettes, stuff like that. But for right now, I hope you enjoyed this sort of attempt at something different, something unique that I haven't tried before, which is a time lapse. Again, I apologize for the split screen. It's sort of a logistical nightmare to try and do time lapses on a console. One other question you might have is why didn't I just go into spectate mode? And that's because I really want to keep this world pure, you know? Like, I could just go in here to my settings and go to creative mode for the second account so I can fly it wherever I want. I could also just go to spectator or whatever they call it with the account, but I really like being able to get advancements. I want to be able to know and be able to prove, I guess, that everything I do is fully in survival Minecraft. Everything from, you know, collecting materials and placing them to filming these stupid YouTube videos. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. But I hope to do more time lapses like this in the future. I'm not quite sure. I haven't really gone into editing yet to see what it's all gonna look like. But if you see the video, then that means that I was at least reasonably happy with showing it to you. Anyway, I've been Kobe with Blacksmith Gaming. Thanks for tuning in, and really hope to see you next time. Cheers.